Hi, everyone. Welcome to Soul Creativity. Naven here. I'm excited for this evening's show. And it's evening in my area. I say this every week because I think everybody's in my time zone. Um, but tonight's guest is not, so it's not evening on her end. I want to remind everyone to please like, subscribe, share the videos. Please tell people about the channel. It would be greatly appreciated and to help keep the show going. Also, I want to remind you that the live chat is up. So if you're listening live and you have any comments or questions, please put them in the live chat and we will get to them. And if you're not listening live, but you're listening later, you have a comment or a question, go ahead and put it in the comment section below the video because Linda and I will get to it. So don't forget that you can do that as well. And if you're looking for any links to websites, mine or Linda's, how to contact us, also look under the video. And we will remind you at the end of the show. So again, welcome to Soul Creativity and welcome, Linda. I am so excited to have you as a guest and really looking forward to our discussion this evening or today.
Me too. Welcome to Southern California and 104 degrees. It's crazy for April.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy. Yeah.
Is the sun beaming too today? Is it sunny?
It's sunny and we have what they call Santa Ana winds, which are the ones that come in from the northeast and tend to cause all the wildfires.
Right.
So, so I'm in the back of the house where it's actually a little cooler. The sun has moved around and
Oh my God.
yeah, it's, you just have to go with the flow. You can't, I can't control the weather. So I just have to dress appropriately and,
Yeah.
do my thing.
Well, is it still fluctuating somewhat? Because I know here, and I'm near the Pittsburgh area more on the East Coast, it's like at this time of year, we have one day where it's 70 degrees and then one day where it's back down to 40 or 30. It's fluctuating back and forth.
Same here. It was low 50s earlier in the week. And it's funny because when we had a house up in the mountains about 90 minutes from here, every Mother's Day it snowed. And I was like, what is this? It's May and it's snowing. So I just, I think the older I get, I just sort of, I don't try to predict things. I don't expect the weather to do anything in particular. I just go, oh, okay, hot today. Let's dress this way. And I think in life, that's just kind of how you have to go. We all want to know what's going to happen tomorrow. We all want to kind of try to control and plan and all of that. And, such a chunk of the time, we just have to throw our hands in the air, throw our plans out the window and just step in.
Right. You just have to roll with it.
Yeah.
And especially with the weather, I mean, it doesn't really bother me, the fluctuation or, I'm not anxious to scrape ice off my car or something now. But otherwise, it doesn't bother me if I have to grab a jacket, to go out during the day or something like that. So our talk about, rolling with the punches, going with the flow, I wanted to open with talking about like living and being on purpose, because that's such a big topic today. And I think a lot of us use the words and we, most of us want to be there, want to be living a life on purpose, but I'm not sure if we always know what we're talking about, like what that actually means. And I'm wondering, what you think that means. And, are there particular techniques or things that we should consider if we want to live a life on purpose?
It's such a broad topic because you can live on purpose, but you are also born with a purpose. Mm-hmm. Some people have the blessing to be able to live their purpose and it's their career too. So they're on purpose and they're living their purpose, but that isn't always the case. Some people their purpose might be working with the elderly. It was just planted on their heart from an early age. My husband's ex-wife loved old people from a very, very young age. and felt called to work with them.
Mm-hmm.
Other people might see that as a good arena to work in, and they can dedicate themselves to that, and they can be on purpose day in, day out with doing their job. But there may be something else that is really calling their heart and soul, but it might not be something they can make a living at. But that doesn't mean that you ignore it. So I think there's a lot of people that take responsibility for their lives. You know, they pay the bills, they get a job that's stable, they create a family, they have a partnership, whatever that is. And they feel empty when they have ignored the calling on their soul, the seeds that were planted in their heart from a very early age, which for me was coaching. But there were no words for it at the age of 5. There were no words for it at the age of 13. There were words for it when I got into my 20s called psychologist, sociologist. And then there were words from my math teacher that said, you're never going to make it because you just can't do the math, which, you know, I could have given up on my purpose, but I continued. You know, my purpose showed up as a teacher. It showed up as a facilitator, a communicator, a connector of people. And so those were always in the jobs that I did. And then the coaching arena opened up, and all of a sudden it was like Wheel of Fortune. Ding, 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 ding. That's it. And I was able to lock on, but that didn't happen until my late 50s. So I think, first of all, there are so many words being used in the coaching community, in social media, from our influencers and all those people. And it starts to get like psychobabble. We throw the words around. I need to be authentic. And we don't really think about what that means for us. I think the first thing we have to do is wake up and be aware of the language we're using and what does that mean to me. So I am living my purpose, but I'm not on purpose every day. I get distracted. I procrastinate. I'm definitely not on purpose. So I think if we want to just break down words matter, if you take purpose, are you living consciously, making conscious choices, living purposefully, is one definition. Are you living your God-given purpose is a separate conversation. And if the two happen to go together, good for you.
That's a good distinction to make. And as you're talking, I was reminded that, a couple things that are important to maybe help us differentiate between the two. And also, it might be a lot easier as a mindset to know we have to live on purpose. Like you said, you need a job, you need to do this, and you're doing that. It's a little bit different to reconnect with that soul purpose.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking about how so often we do discover that in childhood. We know it, we're born with it, but it's then, when we get into doing all the regular life stuff, it just isn't part of that. It's kind of drummed out of us. And so I think a lot of times if we reflect back on what, we were drawn to as children, or what excited us, or what our passions were. And so I think, self-inquiry, and however you do that, if it's taking a walk in nature or journaling, or, however you can reflect back, and the importance of quiet time to do that, because, it had changed over the pandemic a little bit. A lot of us had a lot of quiet time. But in general, we don't have that. Even if you step outside to take a walk in nature, I know where I live close to an airport. And so, there are always planes constantly, flying really low overhead. So it's hard to get quiet.
I think that's an excuse. Sorry to call you out.
No, I'm not saying that I don't get quiet, but I'm just saying we're bombarded with noise at every,
we are.
Silence.
we are distracted people. We live in a very fast, noisy world, and we have to set the intention for quiet. But I think in doing so, there's some questions we can ask ourselves, because we seek the quiet for a reason. First, peace of mind, a break from the rat race, those kind of things. But if we're thinking about divine guidance, for me, the voice of God, then when I get quiet, there are questions that I'm asking and waiting to hear the answers. And it's funny how when I'm more intentional about my quiet, I can tune out all kinds of noise. But if I'm just going, well, you should meditate now, let's close our eyes, let's get quiet, I am like a pinball machine. I'm all over the place. And the other thing, I think, from the standpoint of self-inquiry, I like to call it, be curious about yourself. One of the things I do with clients is we look for the through line. So I have them go back over the timeline of their life, back into childhood, and look for the things that really lit them up. Look for the things that came easily. Look for the things where, like for me, random people would tell me their life story. It would be like the popular girl, and I was anything but popular. And sit down on the bench while we wait for the school bus. Like, can I talk to you about something? I'm like, and in hindsight, why me? What was it about me? But you can go through that. And if you've got photo albums of your childhood, which I don't have, I have very few pictures, it can really bring to life, our memories. And my first memory, and I can't remember if I shared this with you, was my mom took me to a movie at the age of 5. It's a musical called Carousel. And there's a scene where a guy's sitting on a ladder, and there's this booming voice that I thought was God, and he's polishing stars. And I remember saying to my mom, I'm going to polish stars for God when I grow up. Well, so you talk about, we get off track. Well, I'm sure my mom thought, yeah, that's going to happen. You're going to polish stars for God. What, that's nice, dear. That's a good dream to have. But then we start having other dreams of maybe being a speaker, maybe being on stage. And we're told, that's just silly. Very few people make it in that arena. You don't want to get your feelings hurt. You need to pick something that's nice and stable. I know you don't understand how important that is at your young age. And we literally are talked away from our purpose. And yet, even in that, I think if we go through the timeline of our lives, we can see where it shows up. Because I think, as just my opinion, I've never heard anybody say this, I think we let go of our purpose, but our purpose never lets go of us. So it's constantly revisiting us in that nudge that says, you really want to stay in this job much longer? Or you apply for a job and you go, God, I don't know if I should apply for this. And that little tap on the shoulder. What have you got to lose? Send your resume. The little whispers, little taps, little nudges here and there. And I think sometimes that's a way of the universe revisiting us and trying to guide us. And it's our job to stay open to those and pay attention to those. Because I can tell you, when I've been bullheaded and I've got that I know better than you attitude on, it doesn't take long for that to backfire on me in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's, oh my God, this person's a nightmare, or, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be something different than this. My expectations are not being met. And so it really is staying open. And I think it's also just knowing that change is natural. Transitions are natural. If we're stuck, we're not growing. And I think we are meant to grow. And so navigating that with some self-compassion, some grace for ourselves, some patience, something I've gotten better with. Not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, instant gratification. I want it now because, I was at a talk last night for a group of Christian women, and Christine was saying, you can't, she said, you can't hit a button and upload your purpose. There's no app for your purpose. You can't order it from Amazon. You can't overnight it. And I thought, gosh, that's so where we are.
Yeah.
And then we've just gone through 2 years of COVID where people have said, screw it, I'm quitting my job.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're in this, what did I do? What did I do? How am I going to pay my bills? Where am I going to live? And so we're in I think we're in an adjustment period there with the whole, we got used to working from home and now people are being told to go back to the office and all of that. But transitions are normal. You just got to stay curious, stay awake and stay curious.
That's the thing. And, I think if there was a benefit to the pandemic pause is that, it allowed people to think that. I mean, I think a lot of people started realizing they didn't want to live their life tied to, something that wasn't fulfilling,
Mm-hmm.
or, did they want to sit 2 or 3 hours in traffic to get to, it opened up a lot of doors. And and this is another thing with language, you have to really protect yourself, or at least, use critical thinking when it comes to language being used by popular media, because as everyone called it the great, resignation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I hated that word because it just sounded like you resigned yourself to there's nothing better. Where I came to think of it as the great, like, reimagination. It sparked creativity in people. And, I know a number of people who started businesses that they had kind of been longing to start during the pause. And, even if people have to return to work, they've had that chance now. That's the only way change occurs. If you're kind of in a job and you're doing it every day, it's harder to step back. Now they know, like, we're not going to put up with certain things anymore. The system's going to have to change. And that's how change occurs. And so you can be curious about it. You can wonder about it. And so I think it was really, really good that people started rethinking and reimagining, what is possible. And you might have to do that on purpose stuff. Like, well, yeah, I have to go back to work. But it gave people a voice.
Or you have to be on purpose with investigating what your alternatives are.
Yeah.
And not hope that it just drops in your lap. I do a group coaching model, and I'm going to be starting a group called Reinvention Coaching. And I think that's what people are doing. They're sort of looking at, these are the talents I have. These are the things I love doing. These are the benefits I can bring to people. And where else can I plug those in?
Right.
And create a life for myself. And so, I think there's a spectrum of stuff going on, and we're in the shake it out period. And
which is exciting. It's also, can be a little challenging and frightening, but it's also very exciting that there's that energy now for change.
But there's nothing worse than hating your life and numbing out to what's going on. And the other definition of resignation, just throwing in the towel and going, now whatever, I'm just going to pay my bills and get through this until my last breath. I mean, that's an awful way to live. So I would rather, and I share this with clients, you need to leave your comfort zone and embrace uncertainty. You may try a few things before you land on that sweet spot for you.
Right.
And sitting in uncertainty isn't something we like.
Mm-mm.
we like our safety zone. We like to know what's going on. We like, and I honestly think kind of a life well lived requires embracing uncertainty. And otherwise, we just stay safe. And within that safeness is kind of a stuckness.
Well, and also to know that it's okay for something not to work out. We don't
Yeah.
necessarily, we're not necessarily taught that. It's kind of seen as a failure if you try something. But, a lot of us try a lot of different things. And,
I had a guy interview me. And I'll just give you a quick timeline of my job history. Went into the garment industry in a retail store, transferred to the security department and did auditing for the retail store. Transferred to a store and became the manager of the store. Was hired by another company to become an assistant buyer. Stayed as an assistant buyer, was then invited to interview for a job in wholesale, where the man said to me, "You seem to change jobs a lot." I said, "Really?" I said, I don't see it that way. I stayed with one company for 10 years. I stayed with the other company that I'm now in for 3 years. And I said, they saw potential in me to do more, and I believe that I should grow. He said, "Good answer." So I got that job, and then I ended up getting married, working with kids, then having a multi-level marketing business, and then finding coaching. So yeah, I've reinvented myself. But again, I'll go back to what I said earlier. I'm sure if I took every one of those jobs, there were certain things that I was good at that showed up in every one of them. One was clear communication. One was showing somebody the possibilities of doing something differently. One was education. And one was always wanting to be of service and help somebody else's life. I'm going to say go more easily. I'm not sure that's the best choice of words, but I wanted to help their circumstances in whatever way I could. Even when I cleaned houses, I only cleaned houses for 3 days. I so knew that wasn't where I belonged. But even in that, I wanted to leave their house beautiful. I wanted them feeling good when we left and they stepped back in. So yeah, if I would encourage anybody to do anything, sit with a piece of paper and what are you good at? What are the compliments people give you? Why do they like having you around or employing you? And then the next question would be, what other industries can you use that in? How else can you use those in your life to make your life bigger and kind of more lit up, more exciting? Yeah.
Yeah, those are really good techniques and questions to, get on the path to doing more of what we were talking about as a soul purpose. Before we run out of time, there was something I wanted to talk about because I think it's really interesting, and it's abundance and how traditionally, we probably grew up thinking abundance only meant material possessions and money, and how, a lot of us have started to see that in a different context. And also, I know, you talked about gratitude with abundance and how important that is. And so I'm wondering if you can, talk about us. We were talking about reimagining what abundance is and how gratitude might keep inviting it into our lives.
It's funny when you sent me that outline, I thought having an abundant life starts with first recognizing the abundance we already have. It doesn't start with the I want more list. I believe in some universal principles that if we don't give gratitude for all that we have, more will not be delivered. So working with a client the other day, we sort of tripped on something kind of new. I do a gratitude with my husband every night before he falls asleep, because he falls asleep before me. And we just hold hands and we talk about the things we were grateful for that day. But I'm also talking with clients about celebrating their own life And what I came up with is, if we live a life of gratitude and we have a practice of gratitude, yes, we can be grateful for the great talk with our children. We can be grateful for the call from our grandkids. We can be grateful for the new job. We can be grateful for the raise. We can be grateful for all of that stuff that comes from the outer world.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to take a second step and give ourselves gratitude for having eaten well that day, for having exercised that day, for having sent out our resume to 3 new places or made 3 cold calls. All of the stuff that we do to take care of ourselves, I think we sometimes, that doesn't even hit our radar.
Right.
And I think that we need to start there first. How would I like to acknowledge myself? How would I like to bring gratitude back to myself first?
Mm-hmm.
And then, what am I grateful for that I experienced in the outer world? And as we start doing that, pretty soon we start seeing how much abundance there is. I think abundance can also be seen, and I agree, it's not money, it's not the better house, and there's nothing wrong with a better house and more money and
Mm-hmm.
the right pickup truck or whatever. But I think when we can start to see abundance clearly is when we simplify our life and we let go of a lot of meaningless stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think the meaningless stuff, and this goes back to busyness, noisiness, lack of quiet, and you can feel that in your body. It's just
Right.
discord. You just feel jangled. I think when we can start with that, pretty soon we're looking around our house, we're looking around our neighborhood and our relationships, and we're going, wow, I kind of have all I need.
Mm-hmm.
Am I open to more? Sure, but my needs are met.
Mm-hmm.
Wants are great. Nothing wrong with wanting. But when you can really recognize that the universe has provided, I think it's Sarah von Brecknoff with her book Simple Abundance.
Mm-hmm.
She starts with an expression, all you have is all you need. But if we're constantly looking for the next fix, the next better one, then we're just filling a hole in ourself with stuff that doesn't hold any, here comes that word authentic, any authentic meaning. It just is like, it's like chewing gum on a leak in a boat. It's gonna come off and the leak's gonna happen again. So yeah, I think it's waking up to the abundance that's already there and
Mm-hmm.
giving thanks for that. And it's starting from that place and celebrating yourself every day
Mm-hmm.
and not waiting for the big stuff. Do not wait for the graduations. Do not wait for the promotions. Celebrate yourself every day.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And it reminds me of, along the same lines, waiting for perfection.
Ugh.
Like you can relax once you get this degree or once you're recognized for something. And, you keep striving for that. And sometimes there are things that are not really likely to happen. Nice if they do. But, do you want to spend your whole life hoping, and striving and then being disappointed or feeling less than because, you didn't reach the perfection that you thought you should.
It's destination thinking. It's thinking,
Mhm.
if I get this, if I arrive here, then I'll be completely fulfilled. Well, the problem is we get there and then we're already on to what's the next thing.
Mhm.
And for me, the only thing I can keep my eye on is my connection with God and faith.
Mhm.
That's the only place that I put my hope, because people are going to let me down. I'm going to let me down. So just knowing that if we could all live just knowing that this is a giant treasure hunt that never ends
Mhm.
and there is no ultimate destination, maybe that's why that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow is elusive. It's because it keeps us going
Mm-hmm.
and exploring. But yeah, perfection's just an illusion. And I was on a session today, and my husband has said this to me, honey, sometimes good enough is good enough. And it's better than waiting and not putting yourself out there.
Right. Yeah, because
People
you
are
can wait
waiting
a
for you.
lifetime.
Yeah. People are waiting to hear from me. People are waiting to hear from you. I don't know who those people are. So I just have to step out in faith, deliver my message. And whoever picks it up, like your YouTube channel, they were meant to pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
And I just keep going.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a much better attitude, and much less stress
Mm-hmm.
than the typical, and of course, I think some of that, you learn as you get older and you have different experiences, and you can, separate sort of celebrity and, what's kind of fake or an illusion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when you're younger, I think sometimes you get caught up in that, or it's more important. Some of it has just to do with maturity, but still, even as an adult, you can be trapped in that where you're comparing yourself to other people or people outside of you, you're being judged. And so you have to be able to hold your own,
Yeah,
stay your own center and not be influenced, um, by that.
absolutely. We don't know those people that are famous.
Hmm.
We know their persona. And we have personas too. They wouldn't know us either.
Hmm.
What goes on in the craziness of my mind and behind closed doors. So it is letting go of the comparing. It's putting our story making machine in check.
Hmm.
We can make up stories about anything, but I would challenge anybody to find maybe one or two facts inside the story they've made up. And if we
Hmm.
can stay with the facts, it's amazing the peace of mind that we can have.
Hmm.
My name is Linda Yeazel, and I was born on July 28th.
Hmm.
Not very exciting, but those are facts. So
Well, it's a starting point.
it's a starting point. You and I could talk forever, but
Hmm.
it's get comfortable with yourself. Be curious about yourself. You're perfect exactly as you are for where you're meant to go,
Hmm.
and just baby steps count. Don't wait for the big ass stuff.
Right.
Baby steps count.
And I think, living with that attitude and viewpoint just keeps us in flow, and it just, really lessens the stress and the
Mm-hmm.
anxiety that we generally face, um, because of all that type of thinking or belief. So I think that's a good place for us to end, to remind everybody to be gentle with themselves and to, you know, create. We're always creating. So to create from, that better place than from the stressful and judgmental, um, place.
Absolutely.
I want to thank everyone who is listening in now or listening in later. And remember, like I said, you can always leave a comment after the fact, and Linda and I will be sure to respond if you do. And I want to thank you so much, Linda, for joining me. This was a fascinating conversation. And I know we could talk for quite, a bit of time more to cover some of the stuff we were even thinking about. So maybe, you'll have a chance to come back and talk to us again.
I'd love that. I'd love that.
What you have to say is important. And I want to remind everyone to look under the video if you want to get in touch with Linda or with me, and there'll be some information. Is there anything else? I had your website there, Linda. Is there anything else that you can think?
Um, only that I will be launching a group coaching program over the summer. It's a short 8-week kind of a thing. So if you've entertained the thought of hiring a coach, some people are like, do I have to really do one-on-one privates? And I'm like, no, you could do group coaching. And the group dynamic is fun because you really
Yeah.
discover you're so much like other people. You all have the same challenges. And it can just be a very supportive community and a nice place to link up with people that want to make their lives better.
Right.
So, yeah, if you're curious about that, send me a note through my email on my website or find me on Instagram under, I don't even know what I am, life coach Linda Yeazel life coaching, something like that. I'll be happy to get back to you and get you some information.
Okay, that sounds good. So everyone keep that in mind. I think that would be a very positive thing to do. And, it's nice to be around someone who's upbeat and joyful and positive. So always a good thing to seek that out.
Yeah.
So again, I want to thank everyone. I also want to mention on next week's show, next Thursday, Stacy Couch is going to be my guest, and she will be another amazing guest you won't want to miss. And we'll be going in a little bit of a different direction, probably talking about archetypes and symbols. And so I'm looking forward to that, and I hope you'll join us and stay in touch. Thank you so much, Linda.
Thank you.